Are you a beauty professional that has thought about, creating an online course, doing some kind of e-commerce with products and making money that doesn't require you to be in the salon or spa itself? Well, I've got the go-to expert for that right now. I'm so excited. My name is Jake Randolph with Beauty Biz Pro, and today I'm joined by Kelly Callahan. Kelly, I know we met at an event last year for beauty. You were a speaker on there. You did amazing, by the way. But ever since then, I was like, I gotta have her on my podcast because the kind of I've been following you too, and the stuff you're doing is amazing. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is the first podcast interview I've done in quite a while. I took a little bit of a break this year, so thank you so much. I'm excited to get back in the game. Okay, so my name is Kelly Callahan. I started my business about 10 years ago. I started off as a spray tanning artist and quickly realized I love the beauty industry. I love giving services. I love being, working with women and things like that. So I started doing mobile spray tans and then evolved into opening up my own brick and mortar. I got my license in aesthetics. And I quickly realized, I was working 60 plus hours every single week, sometimes 6, 7 days a week, and very often, actually, more times than not, working 6 and 7 days a week. I found that there was just not a lot that I could make because I was trading my time for money. And so I
Hmm.
was capped out at the peak of working at my salon. I made $150,000 in a year, which was great at the time. I was really, really excited to do that. But I started getting into online training courses. So training people on how to spray tan, then eventually opening up a product line for sunless artists, hosting events and hosting retreats and doing a lot of different things within the industry to make more money, being affiliates for companies and things like that. So there was a ton of ways to make money, which was really great. But what I wanted to do was figure out the way to spend less time while earning more income. And so the idea for me and the way that I was able to actually do this was through online courses. Online courses gave me the ability to make the course one time, put it out there, market it, and literally make money while I was on vacation, while I was literally sleeping, while I was doing other things like in the salon or just hanging out with friends and family. So this is something that I'm super passionate about because I wanted my life back. I did not want to work 60 plus hours a week for the rest of my life. And now, 10 years later, and having online courses for about 8 years in total, now I have my life back. I really work probably about 10 hours on average every single week while making more money than I did at the salon. And so that's really what I wanted to talk about today because I get really excited thinking about having the opportunity to help women get time back while making more income than they are at the salon trading their time for money.
That's awesome. So, who would you say would be a good like candidate or person that could start their own course?
Yeah, so I get this question quite often, and I would say that you want experience in whatever it is that you're doing. So whether you're a PMU artist or whether you're a spray tan artist or eyelash technician, you want to have a really good foundation of knowledge before you go out there and teach other people. I know that I've been approached by people who have never spray tan before and they just automatically want to train. And maybe because they have an educational background in terms of like maybe they're teachers and things like that, but you don't have to just know that piece of like how to educate people and how to teach. You really want to know how to perform the service and be really confident with that. There's a lot of imposter syndrome though too, where it's like, people will have 2 years under their belt and not feel good enough, even though they've done hundreds of spray tans flawlessly. So you want to make sure that you feel good, but you only have to be a few steps ahead of whoever it is that you're teaching. So for example, if you've been in the game for a year, like I was, and I felt really confident with spray tanning, I felt very confident in growing my business, launching my business and things like that. I was then able to help other people achieve that same thing. So I would say somebody who is a little bit more experienced, definitely at least 1 to 2 years, and somebody who really loves to help other people. I think that one problem in the industry is that we'll have people creating, courses and then not wanting, like they're withholding information because they think that they're training their competition, that kind of thing. So you want to not have that type of mindset because you're doing yourself and your student a disservice at that point. So those were probably the two things that the main things that I would say for somebody to want to get into online courses or just teaching in general if they're doing live trainings and whatnot.
Yeah, I hate the mindset of like, oh, I'm training my competition. Like, be generous, like, especially if someone's paying you, be as generous as possible with your knowledge because it's only going to help you out in the long run, whether it's building your brand or creating a loyal student who gives you shout outs to everyone. Like, don't be stingy with information.
Absolutely. If somebody's giving you money, you cannot withhold information, right? You can't be half-assing what your promise is, delivering like trainings and whatnot. So it's really, really good for you to just have this mindset of, okay, I'm ready to help, I'm willing to help. And if you're not, then maybe you want to wait a little bit before you start training people. Or I've seen this before too, where people train in person. And maybe they don't train people within 20 miles of where they're at, that kind of thing, which to me feels a little weird still. But if you have an abundant mindset and you don't have this scarcity mindset that somebody's going to come and take from you, that's really what you want to have, and the perception that you want to have when it comes to training others for sure.
And here's why I love that I have you here today, because like everybody listen up. Like, this is, you are early to the game, because here's what's going to happen. This is the truth. Like, and you can quote me on this, but within 5 years, and studies have already shown this, within 5 years, 30% of the workforce is going to be replaced by either robotics or AI. And so what that means is, like, we've never had this kind of industry shift in all of history, especially in America. And so what this means is those 30% of people, which millions and millions of people, are going to be looking for other ways to provide for their family, other ways to make income. And so you guys are early if you start an online course now, an online training, because you can teach them a craft or a trade that's going to help them, create a new career.
Absolutely. I mean, for me personally, like it's given me so much fulfillment knowing that I'm literally helping women change their lives and the lives of their families when they start spray tanning, or when I used to teach eyelashes too, when they do eyelashes, like they're making income for themselves and their family. I've helped single moms be able to provide for themselves. I've been able to help people stop working at the salon and start focusing on their family because now they're online course creators, for example. So you're right. I mean, right now is the time to get in. I've been saying it over and over again this entire year. It's like right now is the time to get in because online courses is growing so much at such a rapid rate that if you come in right now and you start your online course, you start gaining momentum, you really start learning the ins and outs of being an online course creator. I mean, if you keep on going at it, there's no way that you can fail. That's how I feel.
So is creating an online course expensive?
No, actually, so the reason why I love online courses is the profitability. So as I mentioned earlier, I've owned a salon, I've owned e-commerce, I've done pretty much everything, hosted, large events and things like that. And the most profitable thing that I do is online courses. I personally use Kajabi. So if you guys go to getyourkajabi.com, you guys can see the different options that you guys have in terms of, what you want to create. So if you have one course, I believe it's $69 a month. That's their lowest option. And really, if you take the time to create your own, digital assets, create your own videos, which is what I did in the beginning. I did all of my own things when I first created the online course. And it literally just cost me the Kajabi, $69 or whatever it was a month. Now I have a team, I have a videographer, I have people designing stuff for me. So obviously it's a little bit more, but it's because we've made money in the business that now I'm able to, hire these people to recreate things, redesign things, make it even more professional than it was already. So it really just depends on how much time you want to spend on it, but it really doesn't have to cost a lot, which is great.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was in a different industry for a while, and we had very low startup costs. Literally just paid a videographer, I think, 2 grand to film a whole course, which these days with phones, you could do it on a phone. And we actually used Kajabi and made millions. And so it's crazy profit margins on courses.
It's so, so good. And personally, me, like I love to travel. I love to spend time with my little toddler. He's, going to be 4 years old. I want to spend as much time with him as possible. So online courses has really given me that. And without that, I would still be at the salon. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? I think there's some people that are meant to be at the salon. They're more extroverted. They love to be there, maybe working 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day, whatever it is, to each their own. But I do think that there is a large percentage of people who really want the time freedom, who want the financial freedom, because truly, like when you go from a service-based provider to an online course creator, you can have one person sign up for an online course, or you can have 100 people sign up for an online course in a day. Like it really just depends on how you're marketing yourself and really how you're putting yourself out there. And the more visibility you have for your online course, the better you're going to do. So it's been such a great thing for me in my life, because not only is it business changing, I've been able to profit so much for that in particular in my business, but also from a time aspect perspective and being able to work from anywhere in the world. I was just in El Salvador last week, working and taking content and doing things on Kajabi, making updates and things like that. So it's really cool that you could work from anywhere that has Wi-Fi, and you're not constrained to being in a salon or anywhere for that matter.
Yep. And speaking of online, let's talk about e-commerce because I have a lot of clients who they sell products in their store or they have a product line, but they want to figure out how can they sell it to more people online.
It all comes down to community. That's how I feel. Like that's how I was able to grow all of my businesses,
Mhm.
is through community, through networking, through knowing people and building those relationships. So, one thing that I did is, I launched our first product in late 2018, I believe. That was our first product. And when we did our first launch for a spray tanning solution, it popped off and it went amazing, better than I could have ever expected. And the reason why is because I had a Facebook group, and I still have this Facebook group, Beauty Business Babes, since January of 2016. So from 2016, throughout the years that I've had it, I've been nurturing that audience, and not even like with any intention really. Like I genuinely wanted to connect with other sunless artists. And so every week I would pop on and I would give advice and I would build this like community of women. And so since then, it's been really easy to sell e-commerce products. It's been really easy to use email marketing to sell e-commerce products and things like that. But I really think it comes down to building out a community first before you really like launch anything.
Yep.
Because I don't know, it was the easiest thing that I've been able to do. And also, I didn't have to pay for the marketing. It was just something that was like naturally and organically built. Um, so I hope they answer your question.
Yeah, for sure. So what advice would you have for someone who wants to, I mean, besides the community, like you want to get into any kind of tactical stuff, like what platform you use or any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were using WordPress when I first started. I do not recommend WordPress. It was very, very clunky. It
Yeah.
was very not user friendly. So we ended up using Shopify, and Shopify has been so amazing to use. I really love Shopify. We grew from having one product. Now we have, I don't even know, over 50 products on
Hmm.
xtansunless.com, ranging from like wholesale, retail items to wholesale sunless solution products, and everything in between. We have, spray tanning equipment and everything. So it's been really nice to be able to do that on Shopify. You can have your orders done, and then you can also print out shipping labels and packing slips and all of these things. And from there, you can schedule USPS or UPS to come to your door to pick this up every single day. So you're not actually going to USPS or UPS and dropping these things off, which makes it really, really easy and really nice. As far as packaging goes, we use uline.com for getting like different size boxes. We get all of our tape there. We get a lot of different types of like miscellaneous
Hmm.
supplies that we need, from Uline. And then as far as labels go, we use Lightning labels. So if you guys go to lightninglabels.com, they're really high. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're very high quality labels. And I love them because as a spray tanning artist, when you are dumping solution out, sometimes it'll get onto the bottle. And so it's a gloss, which is really nice. So it doesn't get stained or anything like that. It's much better than a lot of the other labels out there for sure. I'm trying to think of any other tangibles. As far as just launching, I think the best thing alongside community is using text and email marketing.
Yep.
That has been so great, especially during sales like Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Like we email and text the shit out of our
Yeah.
clients. They probably get a little annoyed, but we've done so well with especially text message marketing, because I think it's like 97 or 98% of people actually open up their phone to see those things. Whereas like email, it's much less. We have about a 30% open rate. So it's not as visible as text is.
Right. Even 30% open rate's good for email.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you actually, one idea that popped in my mind, which is kind of what we did in the other industry, is we would have a group or a community of students who had taken our training, but then we had also used that group to sell our e commerce even more and create repeat customers.
I love that. And that's kind of what we did. And I didn't have, when I first started, spray tanning and opening up spray tan class as our online academy and things like that, like I didn't have a full vision of what everything was going to look like, but it naturally progressed into just like what you said, doing the salon, then having the spray tan academy, and then having X-Tan sunless. So all of our students that took spray tan class was not, they're now educated on X-Tan solutions. So it's like funneling these people into, getting X-Tan products. And the great thing about e-commerce is that it's repeat clients,
Hmm.
whereas having, repeat clients for an online course, it could be difficult unless you have like this ascension process, which we do have. However, it's just harder to get people to as a repeat client versus having something like an e-commerce store where they're having to, repeat buy, whether it's lotions or aesthetics tools or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yep. And most people listening here, they already have customers and clients. And so if you start like you're selling, e-commerce, you already have customers to sell to.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. It really does. So if you already have a base, so I'm thinking about, most of your listeners are probably salon owners, I'm
Hmm.
guessing, right?
Yeah.
And so they have, maybe an email list, or maybe they have an Instagram, or maybe they even have a Facebook group of their, community of clients and whatnot. If you have those people there, it only makes sense to have another, income stream, another revenue stream by adding on a product that people actually need and want. And I wouldn't overwhelm yourself too. Like when you're first starting, try not to go crazy and get a bunch of different things because you want to test it out first. You want to like, kind of baby step your way up there because a lot of the products that we have are perishable. So in a year, if we still have these products, we have to throw them out. And that's the last thing you don't want to do that. Obviously, you don't
Okay.
want to waste money. So it's good to start off with like one thing and kind of test the waters, get really good at, marketing that one thing, then expand from there. I will say that, I have a little bit of a regret of having so many products on our website because I feel like there are only probably about 10 products that do very, very well. And the other 40 products are just kind of okay. It's good for that extra income, but we never market them. We just have them there. People need it. So it is really difficult once you get to a place of having, I would say, over even like 5 or 10 products. It gets really difficult to manage all of that.
Yeah, and I think it becomes overwhelming for people shopping because unless you're very organized, like think about the Apple model. When you go to their website, they have like, here's the newest iPad, here's the newest MacBook, and maybe the iPhone, but then they try to make it, they don't try to, push every single product at the same time.
For sure. And so we're trying to like I think about Cheesecake Factory and their menu, which is like absolutely ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? Versus In-N-Out, which they probably, I mean, they're both very successful restaurants.
Mhm.
Um, and In-N-Out has a very simple menu. Like, so I'm trying to be more simplistic in my life. I have a little bit of ADD, so I get excited and I want to do
Yeah.
all of the things. But what I need to do is kind of like, especially the last realizing like this is a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
handle, whether it's the 50 products on e-commerce or all of these different businesses that I have. It's a lot to manage. So what I'm trying to do is actually scale down at this point and really just simplify our processes and think about, okay, what is actually really selling, and kind of get rid of the rest of the things, because it's like, why focus on this 80% of the stuff when 20% is making most of the money.
Right. So do you recommend like any kind of specific, well, I guess the first question I'd probably have if I was listening to this is, let's say I want to start the e-commerce stuff, or let's say I want to start the online training. Should I create a separate Facebook and Instagram account or just try to use the one I already have?
Yeah, I get this question all the time. I would say if it's all very like related, try to keep it under one if you can. If it makes sense. If it
Yeah.
makes sense, just because you're going to have then separate businesses, separate Instagram, it's just a shit show. I have, I think, 5 different Instagram accounts. And thankfully, I have a team to help me, but it is absolutely overwhelming. And so, one thing that I've been told, and this was probably like one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard, is to go deep and stop going so wide. Because I've been a wide person for all of my life. Like, I've been trying to do all of the different things as opposed to just focusing on the one thing and just getting really, really, really good at that.
Yep.
And so when I'm thinking about, creating multiple Instagrams, you're going wide versus just staying with one brand if it makes sense. I think that that would be the easiest way to start.
Yeah, I agree because the hardest part about marketing is just building up that initial momentum where people know who you are. And so if all of a sudden you're starting a new brand or a new Instagram account, you're pretty much starting from scratch. And so it makes it very tough.
Absolutely. And one thing that I want to share too is like this might be helpful for those because you said you have a lot of people who are interested in e-com. Um, do don't just guess what your clients want, actually ask them. So do some polls on Instagram stories or go into Facebook groups or wherever your ideal client is and ask them straight up, like, what would you like to see at our, beauty supply store or whatever it is, like our lash store or whatever, and try to get really, really a good idea of what they want. Because if you try to just guess, you could get the wrong thing and then it's not going to sell. And then you are going to get discouraged and you're going to be like, well, screw e-commerce. I'm never doing this again. But if you start right and you do a little bit of market research before you actually launch a product, I think you're going to be more successful than if you didn't do that. So
Love that. Yeah, we teach that in our I get so many people that are like, should I try this machine or should I buy this device or this machine? I'm like, well, why don't you pre-market it? See, spend $100 on ads, which could save you $5,000 in a purchase you shouldn't have made. Spend $100 in ads, see how much interest you get. And if nobody's interested in it, you probably shouldn't get that device.
for sure. Yeah, you have to ask questions and you have to get really curious about your ideal client. And I think that was a part of what I did prior to. So I had the Facebook group, right? And one of the things that I kept on seeing was spray tanning solutions aren't dark enough. Spray tanning solutions aren't dark enough. So I decided to do something very different from what anybody else had done up to that point and just create a really dark solution. And people were able to shower and rinse off at different times to have like a lighter tan, medium tan, and then a darker tan and a really, really dark tan. And when I did that, because I listened to my ideal client, because I took their information and actually created the product around that, it was really successful. And it's still to this day our number one selling solution.
That's awesome. Well, if they want to learn more about, e-commerce or starting an online course, how can they learn more from you?
Yeah, I would love for you guys to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram account is at @I am_Kelly_Ann. And if you look at the link in the bio, there is a free training for an online course. So if you're interested in learning more about online courses and how to create it, you guys can click on that link and sign up for that. The other place that you guys can find me is Beauty Business Babes Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group. We have about 14,500 women from all around the world in there. So we'd be happy to have you there as well.
Yeah, and I think we're actually going to be doing a cool marketing training in 2025 on that group specifically. So make sure you join that group, and I'll put the links below as well. But thanks, Kelly, for coming on. I've been, like I said, since I met you last year at the event, I've been so excited to have you on my podcast and wanting you to come on here. So I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah, we did. I'm so sorry. I honestly took a hiatus from podcasting for a very long time. I think I made like 5 episodes last year. So I'm back though. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Jake, so much.
Awesome. See you.